The screen flickered with a grainy outline, a tiny form pulsing softly. My heart twisted painfully. There it was, undeniable evidence, the image that would shatter the fragile peace I'd clung to, revealing the truth I'd prayed wasn't real. Betrayal, intimate and devastating, captured forever. I stood frozen, staring at the ultrasound image. It was not just a picture of a baby, but a betrayal etched in black and white. My mind spun with the secrets that had led us here, unresolved echoes of our past colliding into the present. We had been here before, clawing our way back from the edge, my attempts to mend and forgive stacking like fragile glass. But now, the shreds of trust seemed to slip through my fingers, dissolving into thin air. Could she grasp the depth of this cut? This child, innocent yet entwined in our fractured lives, felt like a twisting dagger in a barely healed wound. The irony of it all seared through me, life's cruel humor playing out in silent mockery. Would I gather the shreds of my heart yet again? Or was this truly the end of us? The rain hammers against the windshield, a relentless percussion that mirrors the chaos thrumming through my veins. I sit in the driver's seat, staring at the blur of water running in rivulets down the glass. The air inside the car feels dense, pressing in on me from all sides. Her perfume lingers, an echo of happier moments, but I can't bring myself to look at her. Not yet. The silence between us is dense, fraught with the weight of unsaid words and shattered trust. I clench the steering wheel, knuckles turning white, each creak of the leather echoing in the confined space. The scene from the doctor's office plays on loop in my mind, a sickening highlight reel of confusion and doubt. Her voice, or was it the doctor's, is a distant murmur beneath the drumming rain. Minutes pass, or maybe it's hours. I don't even know anymore, lost in this interminable wait for something, anything, to break the silence. My mind snarls with earlier arguments, each word steeped in bitterness and hurt. How could you do this to us? The question aches in my throat, an unvoiced accusation that spills over with venom and raw disbelief. But I stay silent. Finally, with a sigh that feels like a surrender, she speaks. Her words are heavy, each one tearing through the stillness like glass. We need to talk about this, about us. What it means for everything. Her tone is cautious, as though wary of triggering an avalanche of everything unsaid. My hand eases off the steering wheel, trying and failing to release the tension writ into every muscle of my body. I look over, finally, meeting her eyes. There's a storm of emotions there, regret, guilt, a fear that's stripped raw and bare. It twists the knife deeper. How did we fall so far apart, so quickly? I don't even know where to start, I admit, my voice sounding hollow in the tight confines of the car. Do you realize the position this puts us in? My heart drums harder, a primal beat urging me to retreat or to fight, to do something, anything, but sit with this ache gnawing at my insides. She nods, almost imperceptibly, rain casting shadows across her features. I know, she whispers, and there's a crack in her voice, a fracture that speaks volumes of unacknowledged truths. I know I betrayed your trust. I wish it hadn't happened this way. Each word is a lash, reopening the wound yet unable to soothe. I watch her, part of me aching to pull her close, the other wrestling with urges to walk away. But all that emerges is a frustration-laden breath as my hands drop to my lap, lifeless. Where do we go from here? The question hangs, suspended between us, as heavy as the rain that continues to pour outside, erasing the world beyond the glass. And in this moment, the only certainty is the fractured silence that holds us both captive. The night air was heavy, weighed down with an unshed storm, as I pushed open the door to our apartment. The dim light from the street lamp streamed inside, casting long, ghostly shadows across the living room that stretched like accusing fingers. I could feel a knot tightening in my stomach with each step, a sensation like someone had twisted my insides into a cruel pretzel. I knew something was off the moment I saw her sitting on the couch, her back to me, illuminated by the flickering blue light of the muted TV. She turned as I called her name softly. Her eyes met mine, and there was something unfamiliar there, something that made my skin crawl. It was the expression of a person I no longer recognized, someone whose soul I had once thought was intricately woven with mine. As if sensing my apprehension, she tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her lips were chapped when I reached down to kiss her, cold and unyielding, sending a shiver racing up my spine. What's wrong? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. It felt like speaking in a church, where the weight of the world pressed down on every word, every sound. I need to tell you something, she said, finally, after a silence so profound it sucked the oxygen from the room. Her eyes lowered to her trembling hands, unable or unwilling to meet my gaze. It was in that moment that I felt time slow and everything become painfully, starkly clear. Her words tumbled out slowly, each syllable hitting me like icy droplets of rain after a total eclipse. It happened once, she said. I still averted. I didn't mean for it to. It just happened. The betrayal wrapped itself around my chest, squeezing the air from my lungs. Inside my head, I screamed at her, at myself, at the universe. Yet my body stayed still, a monument of disbelief and disillusionment. Why? The question slipped out before I could stop it, my voice cracking mid-word. I heard the desperation in it, a pathetic attempt to grasp at something, anything, that would unravel this nightmare. Because I felt lost, she replied, each word a knife slicing through the tender fabric of acceptance I had managed to patch together. Her gaze finally met mine, her eyes shimmering with a vulnerability that seemed almost misplaced now. I didn't know how to tell you. We stood there, two figures frozen in a tableau of broken promises, as my heartbeat thundered in my ears. The words I longed to say remained lodged in my throat, suffocating under the weight of my hurt and her sorrowful regret. Her words then were hollow, leaving echoes of a promise I clung to, foolishly hoping reality could be rewritten. Against all reason, I leaned in and whispered that we'd find a way through. I let myself fall into the familiarity of her embrace, choosing to clutch onto hope. But there was frost in her touch and a chill that lingered, reminding me of a truth that I couldn't yet accept, a hope that would soon erode under the weight of reality. The rain was relentless, drops tapping on the worn cobblestones like impatient fingers, each one metronoming the hollow space between us. She stood there, soaked, hair plastered to her cheeks, voice caught in a fragile whisper that dared to cut through the downpour. "I'm sorry," she said. Her words, brittle and frail, hung in the air, suspended momentarily before dissolving against the watery curtain. Somewhere deep inside, I felt an old ache stir, a residual echo of when those words might have mattered. But now, they slipped past like ghosts, haunting in their familiarity. Her apologies had become a dreary lullaby, trapped on repeat, each iteration more hollow than the last. "Please," she pleaded, taking a step forward, and I watched the puddle by my feet shiver with her intrusion. There was a time when I would have closed the gap, pulled her from the storm into the warmth of forgiveness. But here we were, rain mixing with the remains of what was once vibrant between us, pooling into inevitability. Her lips moved, delivering the same dissonant melody, empty notes strung together, strewn carelessly in the pit where sincerity should have been. I felt each syllable grind against the edges of an old wound, the kind that scabbed over but never truly healed, tender and raw with memory. "You always say that," I murmured, more to myself than to her, my breath creating a fleeting mist that vanished as quickly as the sentiment. The rain was cold on my skin, numbing the surface, but doing nothing to the storm within. She halted, the desperation in her eyes palpable, swirling with unshed tears that threatened to mingle with the rain. I imagined them as ink, adding yet another layer to our already smeared history. "I've changed," she continued, her voice breaking a desperate crack in the otherwise consistent monotony of her apologies. "It's different this time." Every word she spoke was a pebble tossed into the vast ocean between us, causing barely a ripple where once there would have been tidal waves. "Is it?" I asked, a question whispered on the wind, its destination uncertain. I wasn't even sure if I wanted an answer, or if I just wanted the rain to wash everything away. The silence stretched thin, a fragile bridge suspended over a chasm of doubt. Her figure blurred, distorted through tears or rain. I couldn't tell, and beneath that blurred visage lay the chill of knowing that the cycle would spin on, spinning us into the same web of apologies and broken promises. Finally, she nodded, a small, defeated motion swaying her shadows in the rainlit street. For a moment, she was just a girl grasping at fleeting hopes, her figure receding beyond the hazy veil, lost to the relentless rhythm of the rain. I turned away, the air heavy with the echo of her fading voice, each droplet a tiny drumbeat marking time. Her whispers lingered behind, insubstantial yet burdensome, like the memory of music long forgotten. Even the rain couldn't drown them out. The door clicked shut behind me, and silence clamps down like a shroud. I stand there, feeling the fabric of time stretched tight between now and then. Back when this space was a haven, before it turned into this arena of silent accusation. The living room looks untouched, like a photograph. It's the kind of stillness where everything seems to hold its breath. A light layer of dust gathers on the windowsill, catching the last tones of the day. My eyes trace the contours of the couch where we used to curl up together, a relic connecting laughter with the new shadows that hang like a fog. Each step deeper into the room spins me back through memories I wish I could curtail. Every familiar creak in the floorboards whispers stories of us, old tales now suffocated by the present's unbearable weight. Once, those sounds were a melody, intimate and reassuring. Now, they are the ghostly echo of a harmony lost. The scent of her still lingers, a subtle reminder that scratches at my senses. My hand finds the arm of the couch, the fabric worn from years of comforting moments. It's strange how something so comforting can twist into a knot of longing and regret. I collapse onto it, the cushion giving way with the same knowing sigh it always had, as though trying to offer comfort where words have failed. Pictures line the wall, mocking me with their frozen joy. Her laugh, captured mid-sentence in one photo, repeats in my head, a loop of sound that should have meant forever. I stare into it, caught in a tug-of-war between wanting to rip it from the wall and needing it there to remind me we were once real. God damn it, I mutter, rubbing my temples to stave off the storm inside me. But no matter how hard I scrub, I can't wipe away the betrayal etched deeper than any memory of love. I close my eyes, wishing I could peer into her mind for a sign, something that would shed light on how what we had slipped through our fingers. The coffee table, cluttered with magazines and a forgotten mug, stands like a testament to mundane days. How many mornings did we sit here, legs entwined, planning the maze of our future? Future. The word grates against my consciousness now, alien and hollow. In the numbing quiet, the ache dulls. Love hasn't snuffed out entirely, not yet, but it flickers like a candle in a darkened room, fighting for breath, struggling against the suffocating tide. And so I sit, pulling at threads of our past, trying to make sense of them against the tapestry of what remains. There's a conversation brewing, one that has been hanging unspoken, waiting to ignite. My resolve hardens, knowing that the next encounter won't be stilled by the same comfortable silences we've shared. I breathe in, preparing to face what comes next, the air heavy with everything left unsaid. I sat on the edge of the bed, the evening's shadow stretching like splayed fingers across the floor. Our room, once a sanctuary of shared dreams, now felt like a vault of broken promises. My eyes caught the reflection of the glass frame on the dresser, the frame that held a memory frozen in time. As if drawn by some inexorable force, I reached for it, fingers trembling, hesitant. The photograph inside was vibrant, colors still daringly defiant against the age that had crept into both our eyes. We smiled back at me, two people untouched by the gravity of vows fully understood. A sigh escaped me, a heavy exhalation that seemed to echo against the silent walls. Tentatively, I ran my thumb over your face, the smooth surface cold and unforgiving. In the photograph, our smiles were shields against an unforeseen future now unraveling. Each moment captured seemed to mock the present. I didn't hear the sound of my own voice saying those words, but the weight of them stayed with me, pressing down, relentless. I placed the picture back, something inside me recoiling from its vibrant deceit, and leaned forward, elbows digging into my knees, hands clasping the back of my head. A whirlwind of thoughts circled mercilessly. Could I forgive you? Could we somehow stumble back into what was? Or was it time to finally draw that line, to accept that some fractures never heal? The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting, watching. I was back at that crossroads again, tormented by the echoes of every whispered apology, every tear-filled confrontation. I thought about the intimacy of our shared past, the way your hand felt in mine that first time in the snow, the warmth that had lingered long after the cold swallowed us. But those memories now felt like edges of a dream, slipping further from my reach. And yet, despite it all, there was something within me that yearned to reach through the fog of betrayal and find again that simple purity we shared, unscarred by deceit. The longing to touch our untouched dreams washed over me, bitter and sweet, an ache that refused to dull. But I couldn't escape the truth, the stark, bleeding truth that sat silently between us, a monolith of unspoken words and broken trust. The reality of it crashed against the walls of my resolve, threatening to shatter the bridge between past and future. Finally, my silent contemplation came to an end. Staring at the photograph one last time, the conflict within me neither resolved nor diminished. I knew this would not come easily. With a newfound resolve and old tenderness mingling warily inside me, I stood, decision ghostly yet tangible, and walked towards the door, my heart a fist of unshed emotions, knowing that the choice lingered reserved in the shadows ahead. The weight of the photograph felt heavier than it should as I held it between my fingers, the edges worn from years of being hidden away, locked in drawers and boxes like some terrible secret. She walked in just as I'd let out a shaky breath, the kind that's half escape, half admission of guilt. Her entrance was silent, a specter hovering on the edge of my storm, yet the air between us crackled with things unspoken. Our eyes locked. Hers were still the same deep pools they'd always been, but now mixed with currents of regret and hope, an unsettling cocktail that churned through the room, threatening to engulf us both. It felt as if I ought to look away, but the pull of her gaze, drowning in questions of forgiveness, anchored me there. The fear of answers, whether they might bind or break us anew, was a monstrous shadow over our moment. You found it, she said finally, her voice barely a whisper, but it cut through the space like a siren. Confirmations carry no relief in situations like these, only a faint acknowledgement of the inevitable. Yeah, I did, I managed to reply, my voice rough with things left unsaid too long. What now? Do we redefine, try to salvage this tangled mess? Or do we relinquish, let it go before it pulls us under completely? Silence sat heavy between us, heavy like the photograph dangling from my hand. The image on it, trying its best to dredge up memories both vivid and faded, was almost searing in the quiet. Memories of laughter, of hands entwined, of hearts beating in perfect sync. Memories that now offered only questions of their own. She took a hesitant step forward, and though the punch of emotional vulnerability was nearly tangible, my feet seemed glued in place. I watched her reaching, both of us flinching under the weight of the moment, our silhouettes close enough to touch yet worlds apart. You know, she began, her fingers brushing softly against my palm as though the slightest touch could stabilize our world teetering on its axis. We're both here right now, and that's saying something, isn't it? Maybe that means there's still something worth fighting for. Her words hung in the air, neither descending into despair nor rising to comfort. They simply existed as our collective breath did, necessary, trembling, real. I felt a fire in my chest, an ember of hope pulsing against the raft of sorrows we'd built. What if there's a chance to navigate back to one another? Or were these merely the instinctual clutchings at what's already lost? Her hand lingered, a tentative promise dangling at my fingertips. I had to decide. We had to decide. Do we brave the echoes of what's been or scatter them into the ether? The photograph curled slightly under the pressure of indecision, and I looked at her, searching for answers in eyes that held stories untold. Silence wrapped around us, dense and suffocating, like the air in a room that hasn't been opened for years. I could feel it pressing down on me, a tangible weight on my chest. She sat opposite me, across the table, her hands nervously kneading together, creating small crescents of tension on her palms. Her eyes, those eyes I once found so beguiling, caught the dim light, flickering like candles about to be snuffed out by a stray breeze. I've changed, she said. Her voice wavered, each shaky word a thread pulling tight around my heart, every promise a gamble. Yet, in the shadows of her gaze, I searched for that elusive honesty she once betrayed, as if I might unearth it amidst the rubble of our past. Have you? My voice sounded foreign to my ears, the syllables brittle, ready to shatter at her touch. I could feel my pulse drumming in my ears, a rhythmic pounding aligning with the desperate hope I wasn't sure I dared to feel. She nodded, the movement so slight it might have been a trick of the light. Yes, she whispered, the words suspended in the air between us, fragile as glass. I know I've hurt you. More than I can ever say. But I've worked on myself. I'm different now. Her words were a balm, but I couldn't stop the memory of past lies from seeping into the cracks they'd left. The things she said sounded rehearsed, words that could have been plucked from any cheap romance flick's redemption arc. I wanted to believe, God, how badly I wanted it, but the past clung like the smell of smoke long after a fire's put out. What if we? She began, her voice faltering. I could see the trembling effort in her lips, struggling to form the words that might undo our shared history, each unresolved silence and raised voice. What if we start over? And there it was, a chasm more profound than words could describe. It loomed between us, vast and dark, and it gnawed at my insides, a beast fed on years of cautious hope and aching disappointment. Reconciliation felt like standing at the edge of this abyss, preparing to leap in reckless defiance of what I knew to be my own better judgment. I chewed on my lower lip, tasting the bitter tang of indecision. Her hand reached out, tentative, crossing that expansive table that seemed to grow wider with every second. I watched it inch towards mine, hesitant and hopeful, trying to bridge the gaps of uncertainty. The warmth of her fingers brushed against mine, breaking the cold veneer of doubt just long enough to inspire a whisper of something other than despair. Yet fear curled inside me, insidious and familiar. I looked up and met her eyes again, the need for truth and the fear of it swirling within me, locked in an eternal dance. The future quivered there, delicate and unresolved, as we teetered on the precipice of something daunting and yet somehow intoxicatingly possible. I can still feel the knot tightening in my chest as I swallow the words, battling against the tide of emotions rising within me. The kitchen light flickers above us like some vigilant judge, highlighting the tension that's woven the silence between us. She sits across the table, eyes lowered, her hands resting on the worn-out wood that's borne witness to years of whispered dreams and shared laughter. But today it feels foreign, more like a barricade than a bridge. I open my mouth, but at first nothing comes out, just air pushing against a dam of avoidance and pleading. Then it pours out, as if a sluice has cracked wide open. Do you even understand what this does to us? I don't recognize my own voice, raw, breaking like something fragile tossed against concrete. She flinches as though the words have physically struck her. And part of me wishes they had, that maybe pain could somehow reciprocate and balance this desecration. Her response is a muted plea. I didn't mean, but I cut her off, because I can't stop now. It's as if I become a conduit for feelings I never wanted to acknowledge. This pregnancy, this betrayal, it's not just a mistake we can brush off and move past. It's a fracture, a chasm that'll split us right down the middle. She doesn't say anything, but her eyes, full of regret and something else, an apology that can never be enough, beg me to stop. Still, the momentum of my despair is too powerful. You've planted this seed, this living testament to our brokenness, and now it's destined to grow in this poisoned soil. My hands ball into fists as I brace against the shuddering sob that's threatening to surface. It's like I'm sinking deeper with every word, hurled down this spiraling path where the gravity of hopelessness is unrelenting. I used to think love was invincible, that whatever storm came our way, it would sail us through. But love, it turns out, has its breaking points. She whispers my name, a faint attempt to reel me back from the edge, but I can't be dragged back. Not now, not when I'm finally letting myself feel every jagged piece of this. My voice drops, softer but no less ruined. How do I stay, knowing what standing still means? Her silence is louder than any argument, echoing in the hollow pause between us. We both breathe it in. It's the first breath in ages that's not choked with anger. There's something fragile, almost peaceful in the quiet that follows. It's the eye of the storm, the only calm in an endless chaos. In that suspended moment, the enormity of it all unfurls within me, a sobering weight sitting heavy in my bones. And I know, somewhere deep down, that nothing can be hurried forward from here. The silence was thick, almost tangible, like a fog that had settled into every corner of the room. I sat there, feeling the gravity of my own words still echoing between us, bouncing off the walls before falling into the abyss of our shared silence. Her eyes were cast down, hands resting on her knees, a portrait of introspection. I wanted to reach out, erase the lines that had drawn themselves into her brow, but there was an invisible line drawn somewhere between us now, one I couldn't cross. Outside the window, evening shadows elongated, stretched like dark fingers over the worn carpet. The room felt as empty as ever, despite her presence. I inhaled deeply, the air seemed heavier, tasted of tension and unshed tears. In my mind, I searched frantically for something to fill the void, a word, a gesture, anything that might bridge this silent chasm between us. But all I found were echoes of what I'd admitted. For a moment, I imagined my words escaping out into the night, leaving us in peace, but here they lingered, painting the space around us with a truth too stark to ignore. Her breath was steady, giving nothing away. I watched as it barely disturbed a strand of hair fallen from her bun. We sat in the profound silence of revelation, knowing that tomorrow held the promise of an unknown path away from the familiar chaos. That promise was a feeble hope and an unbearable terror wrapped into one. I shifted my focus inward, struggling against the tightening in my chest. The aspiration toward a future where this confession would mean something different, perhaps an end, or a beginning, was almost too much to entertain. Was it premature to think of such things now when the air was still rippling from the impact of my truth? I glanced at her again, seeking assurance in her stillness, but found none. Her silence was her armor, her way of coping, and I was no closer to knowing if it hid forgiveness or finality. Either way, it felt like there was a precipice in front of us, daring us to leap into whatever lay beyond. The lamplight flickered once, a solitary drone of noise piercing through our shared silence. Her lips parted slightly, a breath escaping an interruption, maybe a prelude to words. Instead, it withered back into the quiet, leaving only the shadows to judge us. She finally met my gaze, and in her eyes was an ocean of things unsaid, emotions swirling just beneath the calm surface. And yet, there was a question, one unspoken but deafening. Can we rebuild from here, or have we reached the end of all we know? As the night continued to creep over the city outside, the weight of the moment pressed against us, urging us toward an unseen edge. We sat there, poised upon it, suspended between what was and what might be, each breath a testament to the uncharted journey that lay ahead. The soft light of dawn slowly bleeds through the blinds, painting thin, luminous stripes across the floor. The air is cool, almost fresh, as it quietly slips into my lungs, each breath a gentle reminder that another day has begun. I stretch, feeling the creak in my bones, and for a moment, hover on the edge of thoughts not yet formed, just the ghost of emotions simmering under the surface. I walk over to the room we called the nursery in a whisper. The door groans softly as I push it open, and my feet tread silently across the carpet. The walls are bare, untouched by the dreams and colors we had once imagined. There's an old rocking chair in the corner, the one piece of furniture we bought before everything changed, and I sit there, letting the wood cradle and sway me. It's an emptiness that feels both heavy and light at once. I close my eyes against the cool light, feeling its warmth seep through my eyelids, a strange comfort amid the stillness. Here, alone, there's space to acknowledge what might have been. I run my fingers along the arm of the chair, tracing the smooth curve of the wood, and allow myself to feel the weight of what was lost. There was so much hope wrapped up in this small room, dreams layered like soft blankets, each memorable touch foreshadowing a world that never came to be. The visions of past days spin in my mind, her laughter, the plans we made, the baby we'd yet to meet. Each memory is a soft, distant echo that gradually fades, leaving behind the quiet rhythm of my breathing. Maybe one day, I whisper to the empty room, voice echoing in a space meant to speak volumes. The reality of choice, of time marching on, is something I must face. It unfurls in front of me like an endless path. It hurts, these dreams unfulfilled, but as the light brightens, chasing away the corners of darkness, I glimpse something new, fragile, yet promising. Outside, a bird sings, its clear notes ascending into the morning air. The sound cuts through my drifting thoughts, sharp and bright, looping into a symphony that promises something beyond this moment. I open my eyes, the world slowly coming into focus with the light, familiar yet new. Life will go on, as it always does, indifferent to dreams deferred and moments missed. But in this room, with the sun casting warm shadows across the empty walls, there's something else, too. Acceptance, a bittersweet acceptance of the past and a hesitant step towards the future. As I rise from the rocking chair, placing my feet firmly on the ground, I steal one last glance around the room, letting the light guide me. It's time to explore whichever path lies ahead, embracing the peace that comes with each step forward into the day that awaits.